The making of sorghum syrup was at one time as much a part of the southern Appalachians as the coming of fall. But most of the old-time syrup makers are gone now. Their mills lie silent. Only a few sorghum operations exist today, and the men who run them keep alive a tradition which stretches back over a century. The first sorghum cane was brought to the United States back in 1858. In those days, the mountain families depended on the sorghum to see them through the winter. But as refined sugar became available, the sorghum disappeared from many tables. But here in the small mountain community of Salem, in the northwest corner of South Carolina, the yearly tradition of sorghum lives on. The process begins in early fall when the cane is harvested. All the work is still done by hand, just as it was done generations before.
You got hot weather for the first thing, it's a hot job. And if you don't cut it down first and sit down and strip it, it is hard, sure enough. A lot of people strip it standing up, you know. We always cut it down, and then you can strip it and then cut the heads off and load it on a truck and take it to the mill.
There'll be a man there when we start making. He feeds that mill. Well, the juice comes out of the mill in the tub. I've got from that tub down to the evaporator pipe runs the juice. Well, I've got a spigot on the end of that pipe. Just as it boils, getting down low, I'll turn in more juice and cook it till it gets done. It comes out at the other end of the evaporator, done served, in the about a 5-gallon can. Well, I started when I was just barely big enough to feed the mill, and then I got where when Pa'd go in and eat his dinner and anything, I'd put some wood under the furnace, make them boil, stay up there and skim them, and that's the way that I learned how to cook syrup.
He's been doing it ever since he was just a youngster, and through his dad, he learned how, you know, what he's doing with that. And he really don't want nobody, you know, to get in his way while he's cooking it. And he knows this exactly his little points, you know, that what he has to do, and he just continuously working, you know, just like a bee or something, you know.
There's all sorts of tricks to gray dirt will make brighter syrup. And now to make good syrup, another thing is have good dry wood. Whenever you get started to boiling, keep it boiling. Is be full of little bitty blubbers cooking that water out. And when it gets back there where it's done, be great big old blubbers. And I go by the color of it.
You didn't have a cow, you used to starve to death on them little farms. You had 2 or 3 cows. Raised your own meat, your own sweet potatoes, your peanuts, and your sorghum.
We didn't have recreation facilities like kids have got now. We always lived in a rural district. And it started making time. We was always glad if it'd come around. We'd gather up at neighbors' houses and our own houses, and we'd swap and have these candy pulling. We just call them candy pulling, but I think the word's taffy now. So we'd gather up some peanuts, popcorn, and put this syrup back on the stove in a pan, get it good and hot, and we'd pour it on this popcorn and make big balls, the size of baseballs, some of them big basketballs. Then the young boys and the girls would eat that, and we'd pour parts peanuts in the same mixture, and we had peanut brittle. But the fun part of it was when we went to went to the pulling part. But grease our hands with butter and let the hot syrup cool enough where he could handle it. And a boy would give him a big handful of that, and his girlfriend would be across from him, and we'd start pulling that stuff just like pulling rope. And the more we pulled, the more fun we had, and the whiter the syrup became. And at the end, we'd have sticks and slabs of just good hard taffy.
Burley Brown realizes that his reputation as a syrup maker stands on every batch he produces. And with over half a century of experience behind him, his molasses is still a favorite with the people of the Salem community.
You can use syrup any place you can use granulated sugar. You can make preserves, cakes, pies. A lot of us even sweeten their coffee with.
You got to have country butter if you really eat it right, because that's the way it was invented way back. Because everybody had country butter in the old days.
It's people eat loaf bread, they can enjoy them. You got to have what we call cat head biscuits. No certain size. They just, the ladies pack them out with their hands, and they'll be big and thick, and they look like an old cat head. That's really where they got your name. Well, put you out a portion of them syrup in your plate, and butter's good in them. You stir that up, mix it up, or if you got a piece of bacon or ham or sausage, it don't hurt a thing. But that's the way to really get the benefit of homemade sorghum.
And that was one of their basic foods, was sorghum. Now it's just kind of a novelty. People just mix a little now and then, you know, to kind of keep the tradition going.
For 55 years, I've been making syrup my own self. Still making, hoping somebody else learn how, or I'm going to quit some of these days.
Back in the 30s, every farmer in this area grew up at the cane. But it's drowned away. People went to other jobs, and it's on a very small scale now. But I'm hoping it comes back in the same fashion it was when I was a kid, where everybody grows their own syrup and get us back in the groove again.
Traditions will last only as long as the people who make them. If the tradition of sorghum is to continue, it must be carried on by those of the next generation.